The American Civil War, fought between 1861 and 1865, remains one of the most significant and devastating conflicts in the history of the United States, fundamentally shaping the nation's future. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest historical explorations. Now, let's begin. The war was a brutal struggle that divided families, shattered communities, and changed the political and social fabric of the country forever. It erupted over deep-seated disagreements regarding slavery, states' rights, and the economic direction of the United States, leading to an armed conflict between the Union States of the North and the Confederate States of the South. At its core, the Civil War was a struggle over the survival of the Union and the moral question of slavery, which had long been a contentious issue in American society. The tensions leading up to the war had been building for decades. The Southern economy relied heavily on agriculture, particularly cotton and tobacco, which were cultivated by enslaved people. The North, however, had been moving toward industrialization and had a growing abolitionist movement that sought to end slavery. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 and the Compromise of 1850 were temporary measures to keep the balance between free and slave states, but the issue became increasingly volatile. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed new territories to decide whether they would allow slavery, led to violent conflicts known as Bleeding Kansas. Meanwhile, the Dred Scott decision of 1857 by the Supreme Court ruled that African Americans had no rights as citizens, further fueling tensions. The election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860 was the final trigger for war. Lincoln, a Republican, was strongly opposed to the expansion of slavery into new territories. Southern states saw his election as a direct threat to their way of life. One by one, 11 Southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America under President Jefferson Davis. Despite attempts to negotiate peace, war became inevitable. On April 12, 1861, Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter in South Carolina, marking the official beginning of the Civil War. The North had significant advantages in the war, including a larger population, greater industrial capacity, and a well-developed railway system. The South, however, had a strong military tradition and highly skilled generals like Robert E. Lee and Thomas Stonewall Jackson. The early battles of the war, including the First Battle of Bull Run, shocked the North, which had expected a quick and easy victory. Instead, it became clear that the Confederacy was determined to fight fiercely for its independence. As the war progressed, battles grew more intense and casualties mounted on both sides. The Battle of Antietam in September 1862 became the bloodiest single day in American history, with over 22,000 soldiers killed, wounded, or missing. This battle gave Lincoln the confidence to issue the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, declaring that all enslaved people in Confederate-held territory were to be freed. While this did not immediately end slavery, it changed the focus of the war, making it not just about preserving the Union, but also about ending slavery. The proclamation also encouraged thousands of African Americans to join the Union Army, fighting for their own freedom and proving their dedication to the country. The war's turning point came in 1863 with the Battle of Gettysburg, where Union forces, under General George Meade, defeated General Lee's army in a brutal three-day battle. This marked the beginning of the South's decline. Around the same time, the Union won another decisive victory at Vicksburg, securing control of the Mississippi River and effectively splitting the Confederacy in half. The war continued with devastating battles such as the Wilderness Campaign and Sherman's March to the Sea, during which Union General William Tecumseh Sherman led a campaign of destruction across Georgia, burning cities, destroying railways, and crippling the Confederate war effort. By early 1865, the Confederate Army was struggling with dwindling resources and mounting losses. On April 9, 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. Over the next few weeks, other Confederate forces also surrendered, and by May, the war was officially over. The Union had won, but at a tremendous cost. Over 600,000 soldiers had died, making it the deadliest war in American history. The Southern economy was left in ruins, and many cities lay in devastation. The end of the war marked the beginning of a new struggle: Reconstruction. The 13th Amendment, ratified in December 1865, officially abolished slavery in the United States, But the challenges of rebuilding the South and integrating formerly enslaved people into society were immense. The period of Reconstruction saw significant political and social changes. But it was also marked by violence, resistance from white supremacist groups, and the imposition of restrictive laws that would continue to oppress African Americans for decades. Despite its horrors, the Civil War ultimately strengthened the United States as a unified nation. It reinforced the power of the federal government, ended the institution of slavery, and set the stage for future civil rights movements. The war's legacy continues to shape American society, politics, and racial relations even today. The sacrifices made during those years remain a crucial part of the nation's history, serving as a reminder of both the cost of division and the power of resilience.